Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where noise surrounds us at every turn. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, we are bombarded with sounds, opinions, demands, and distractions. Social media is alive with constant updates. Our phones ping with messages, and conversations with friends, family, and co-workers are ever present. We are so accustomed to the hustle, the chatter, and the constant stream of information that we may have forgotten the power that lies in one simple thing: silence. But why, you may ask, is silence so important in a world that thrives on communication? Isn't the ability to speak our minds and share our thoughts with others a sign of strength and connection? The truth is, while sharing our lives can be empowering, there is a deeper form of empowerment found in silence. One that allows us to truly reflect, grow, and find peace amidst the chaos. In a society where everyone seems to have an opinion, where advice flows freely, and where the urge to validate ourselves through external voices is at an all-time high, silence offers something that words cannot: clarity. When we embrace silence, we create the space to hear our own voice, to listen to our thoughts, our intuition, and our inner wisdom. It's in this quiet, reflective space that we can process our emotions, make sense of our struggles, and ultimately find strength that we never knew we had. This journey into silence, however, isn't always easy. We live in a world where vulnerability is often equated with weakness, and the act of staying quiet can sometimes feel like we're retreating. But in reality, silence isn't about hiding. It's not about avoiding our problems or pretending that they don't exist. Silence is about creating a pause, a moment to reset, to breathe, and to decide how we want to respond to life's challenges. When life presents us with obstacles, our natural instinct might be to talk about them, to seek comfort, to gain advice, or simply to vent. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's done in a way that nurtures us. But how often do we find ourselves stuck in a cycle of complaint, repeating the same problems over and over without making any real progress? How often do we allow our challenges to define us rather than empowering ourselves to define our response to them? In this fast-paced world, the act of remaining silent in the face of adversity can seem counterintuitive. But I challenge you to think of it as an act of self-respect, a way to protect your energy, to reclaim your power, and to transform the way you deal with life's hardships. When we hold back from spilling every thought, feeling, and frustration to the world, we open the door to something far greater: personal growth. We often believe that we need the approval or understanding of others to move forward. But the truth is, the strength to overcome challenges, to navigate difficult emotions, and to rise above obstacles lies within us. It's in the quiet moments of introspection that we uncover the answers we've been searching for all along. Silence becomes the space where we can listen to our hearts, trust our instincts, and take control of our journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to embrace silence as a powerful tool for personal growth. In a world that thrives on noise, let's rediscover the power of quiet reflection, self-awareness, and inner strength. The next time life challenges you, before you speak out, take a moment to pause, reflect, and listen. You might be surprised by the wisdom and clarity that emerges from the silence. The power of silence. In today's world, it's almost a reflex to talk about our problems. Whether we're with friends, family, or on social media, we often feel the urge to share what's going wrong in our lives. We think that by opening up, we'll receive support, understanding, or guidance. And sometimes we do. But what if I told you that there is an immense power in silence, a power that can change the way you approach life's challenges and help you grow stronger? Silence is not emptiness, it is the space for clarity. When you're in the midst of a problem, it can be easy to get overwhelmed by your emotions. Sharing your frustrations and struggles may feel like a release, but it can also cloud your mind. It can create a cycle where your focus shifts from finding a solution to dwelling on the problem itself. The more you talk about your struggles, the more they define you. They consume your thoughts, your words, and your actions. What if, instead of rushing to tell someone about every obstacle you face, you chose to pause, reflect, and listen to your inner voice? When you do this, you step into a space of empowerment. You stop giving away your power to the opinions of others. You stop handing out your energy to people who may not even understand your situation, let alone have the answers for you. By embracing silence, you reclaim control over your own narrative. Instead of being defined by your challenges, you begin to define yourself by how you respond to them. Every time you choose to keep your problems to yourself, you stop reinforcing them in your mind and in your conversations. You stop the cycle of complaint and begin focusing on the solutions that will move you forward. Now, I know that it's not always easy. When life gets tough, we all need someone to lean on. But here's the difference: not every problem requires an external conversation. Not every issue needs to be aired out. Sometimes the best way to deal with a problem is to sit with it and allow yourself the time to think, strategize, and find your own way through. When you choose not to speak about every challenge, you stop turning every moment into a crisis. In a world that's constantly telling us to share, to overshare, and to seek validation from others, silence becomes a form of self-respect. It's a way to honor your own process and protect your mental space. You're allowed to process your pain, your frustration, or your confusion in private. You're allowed to work through things in your own time, without feeling pressured to display vulnerability for the sake of others. And here's the most powerful part. When you embrace silence, you give yourself the opportunity to find your own strength. You no longer rely on others for validation, advice, or pity. You start to trust yourself more. You start to believe in your own ability to handle life's challenges. And when you do reach out to someone, it's because you've already taken the time to reflect, process, and decide what steps you need to take next. Silence isn't about hiding from your problems or pretending they don't exist. It's about giving yourself the mental space to address them in the most powerful way possible, on your own terms. The more you practice this, the more you'll see that your problems aren't as daunting as they may initially seem. The strength you need has always been inside of you, waiting to be tapped into. And the key to unlocking it: silence. So, next time life throws a challenge your way, before you speak to anyone about it, take a moment to pause, reflect, think, and choose how you want to move forward. In doing so, you'll not only protect your energy, but also realize the true power of silence, guarding your energy and protecting your peace. One of the most powerful things you can do for your own mental and emotional well-being is to guard your energy. Energy is a precious resource, and once it's spent, it's hard to get back. Too often we pour our energy into talking about our problems, sharing our frustrations, and seeking external validation. But here's the truth: not everyone deserves access to your energy, especially when you're facing challenges. When you constantly share your struggles, you open yourself up to the energies of others. Some people may genuinely want to help and offer their advice, but more often than not, people can unknowingly project their own fears, insecurities, and negativity onto you. Even well-meaning advice can become overwhelming when it comes from someone who doesn't truly understand your journey. When you allow others too much insight into your personal struggles, you risk absorbing their negative energy, which only makes your situation harder to deal with. Imagine this: you're facing a difficult time and you decide to tell a friend or family member about it. What's the first thing they might do? They may sympathize with you, which is fine, but sometimes they might also start offering solutions that don't resonate with your situation. Maybe they bring up their own experiences, and while they mean well, you find yourself comparing your problems to theirs. And it becomes a cycle of feeding off each other's anxieties and frustrations, and before you know, your initial problem feels even bigger. This is why keeping your problems to yourself isn't just a matter of privacy. It's about protecting your peace. You see, when you keep your problems to yourself, you prevent others from imposing their limitations and fears on you. You protect your mind and your emotional space. The world is full of negative energy, and the last thing you want is to add to it by constantly discussing your challenges. By doing this, you take control of how you perceive your problems and how you choose to address them. You no longer allow others to define the weight of your issues. Only you know the full extent of what you're going through, and it's up to you to determine how you handle it. Think about it like this: energy is like currency. Every time you share your struggles with someone, you are spending a little bit of your energy. That energy could be better spent on solutions, on self-reflection, or on activities that will help you move forward. Instead of wasting your precious energy on explaining yourself or seeking sympathy, channel that energy into action. channel it into focusing on the next step you need to take to get out of your situation. Focus on your growth and recovery, not on rehashing the problem over and over again. It's also important to realize that people don't always know how to respond to your struggles. Sometimes their words may not be what you need to hear. Some might try to offer advice when you're not ready for it, while others might dismiss your pain entirely. Guarding your energy means understanding that you are the best person to know what you need at any given moment. You don't need anyone else's approval or permission to deal with your challenges in your own way. When you choose not to share your problems with others, you give yourself the opportunity to build inner resilience. You start to trust yourself more, believing that you have the strength to face whatever comes your way. This builds emotional independence, something that is incredibly powerful. When you're emotionally independent, you are not swayed by the opinions of others, and you don't need validation to move forward. You rely on your own judgment, your own sense of inner peace, and your own ability to find the solutions that are right for you. Peace is not found in external validation, but in the quiet moments when you choose to center yourself. Silence gives you the time to breathe, to step back, and to assess your situation from a place of clarity and strength. By keeping your problems to yourself, you are actively creating space for your mind and soul to rest, recharge, and recalibrate. And in that space, you begin to feel a sense of calm even in the midst of chaos. So remember, guard your energy, protect your peace. You don't owe anyone an explanation, and you don't have to justify your struggles to anyone. You are the keeper of your own energy, and when you protect that energy, you make room for growth, for peace, and for the clarity you need to navigate life's challenges with confidence and strength. Finding strength in silence. In a world where everyone seems to have an opinion, where social media is filled with advice and judgments, and where we're constantly encouraged to seek validation from others, there is incredible strength in silence. The truth is, silence is not emptiness, it's a space for growth, self-reflection, and clarity. When you stop telling people your problems, you allow yourself to sit with your emotions, to understand them, and ultimately to transform them. When you share your problems with others, you are essentially handing over the power to influence your emotional state. You give others the ability to impact how you feel about your situation. This doesn't mean we shouldn't seek support when we need it, but there's power in taking a step back and relying on ourselves to find the answers we need. In silence, you become your own source of strength. Finding strength in silence doesn't mean being passive or avoiding your emotions. Instead, it means embracing the uncomfortable feelings that arise and learning how to sit with them. Often, when we're going through tough times, we want to escape the pain. We want to talk to someone, to distract ourselves, or to feel like someone else understands. But the reality is that true healing and growth come from within. Silence provides the perfect environment for self-discovery. It's in these moments that you can hear your own thoughts clearly and begin to understand the deeper layers of what's going on inside. When you stop telling people your problems, you create the opportunity to tap into your inner wisdom. You become more attuned to your own instincts, thoughts, and intuition. It's like cleaning the lens of a foggy mirror. When you remove the outside noise, the world becomes clearer. You're able to step back from your situation, view it from a fresh perspective, and figure out the next course of action without external distractions. In silence, your true thoughts and feelings emerge untouched by anyone else's opinions or judgments. This self-reflection is essential for personal growth. When you look within, you learn about your strengths, your resilience, and your capacity to overcome challenges. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by problems when you're constantly talking about them. But when you're silent, you shift your focus from the problem to the solution. You start thinking about how to navigate through the storm, instead of getting stuck in the storm itself. It's important to remember that the people around you may not always understand your journey. Even if they mean well, their perspective is limited by their own experiences and understanding. They don't walk in your shoes, and therefore, their advice and opinions are not always applicable to your specific situation. Relying on others for validation can lead to confusion and self-doubt. The silence you create allows you to trust yourself more and cultivate the inner strength to make decisions that are right for you. Moreover, silence enables you to become more mindful of your actions and decisions. When we talk about our problems, we often focus on the things that went wrong, the mistakes we've made, and the things we can't change. But silence gives you the space to focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, and the way you respond to your circumstances. Instead of getting lost in self-pity or frustration, you can redirect your energy toward finding solutions, taking proactive steps, and building resilience. Additionally, silence teaches you patience. In today's fast-paced world, we're conditioned to expect instant results, but most of life's challenges require time to overcome. Silence helps you cultivate patience with yourself, allowing you to heal and grow at your own pace. When you stop sharing your problems with others, you also stop looking for quick fixes and validation. You begin to accept that healing is a process, not a race. In this stillness, you realize that progress is made, not through constant talking and seeking approval, but through consistent action and internal strength. Finally, the silence that comes from not telling others your problems also gives you the opportunity to connect more deeply with yourself. You learn how to sit in your own company without needing anyone else to complete you or validate your feelings. This deep connection with yourself is the foundation for building lasting confidence and inner peace. When you trust yourself, you stop seeking approval from the outside world, and your sense of self-worth becomes unshakable. Remember, true strength is born in the quiet moments. By choosing not to tell people your problems, you choose to stand in your power and trust your ability to navigate through life's challenges. You create space for growth, resilience, and clarity. This silence isn't empty, it's filled with potential, self-discovery, and the wisdom you need to thrive. The power of personal growth. When you stop telling people your problems, you open the door to one of the most powerful aspects of life: personal growth. The path to becoming the best version of yourself is rarely straightforward. It's often challenging, uncertain, and filled with moments of discomfort. But one thing is certain: growth only happens when you take ownership of your life, your emotions, and your journey. By choosing not to broadcast your problems to the world, you begin to claim that responsibility. You stop letting external forces dictate how you should feel or what you should do, and instead you take control of your own transformation. Personal growth is about embracing responsibility. The responsibility for your emotions, your reactions, and your decisions. When you constantly share your problems with others, you can inadvertently give away your power. You might wait for advice or validation, relying on others to help you make decisions or understand your feelings. But the key to growth is realizing that you are the one who holds the power to change your life. The more you rely on external opinions, the more you dilute your own inner strengths. It's when you embrace the silence that you begin to realize how much control you actually have over your thoughts, actions, and reactions. One of the most profound things that happens when you stop telling people your problems is that you become more introspective. Instead of seeking answers from others, you start searching within. You ask yourself deeper questions. What do I really want? What is my purpose? How can I grow from this situation? These questions open up a space for self-discovery. It's only through self-reflection that we can understand what we truly desire and need in life. We stop being distracted by other people's perspectives and instead focus on what resonates with us on a deeper level. As you begin to reflect more on your journey, you start to recognize your own patterns. You begin to see where you've been holding yourself back, where you've made mistakes, and more importantly, where you've grown. Self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth. By sitting with your own thoughts, feelings, and experiences, you start to gain insights that you might have missed if you were constantly sharing with others. Every problem you face becomes an opportunity for growth, but only if you're willing to look at it honestly and without external distractions. In silence, you learn to develop your resilience. Every time life challenges you, it gives you a chance to strengthen your inner resolve. When you choose not to tell others about your struggles, you learn how to face them alone and build the mental toughness to overcome them. This process is like strengthening a muscle. You won't get stronger unless you push yourself to endure and rise above. Over time, you'll find that you no longer need to share your struggles because you've learned how to navigate them with confidence and grace. You become your own biggest supporter, relying on your inner resources to push through difficult moments. But it's not just about facing challenges alone. It's also about realizing that growth often happens in the absence of external validation. So much of our lives are spent seeking approval from others. We look for encouragement from family, friends, or even social media to validate our experiences and emotions. But in silence, you begin to realize that you don't need anyone else to tell you that you're capable. The fact that you face difficult situations and still stand tall is the validation you need. You start to trust your own judgment and believe in your ability to overcome anything. In this silence, you also discover that true power lies in taking action. It's easy to get caught up in talking about problems, venting, or seeking advice, but action is what drives change. When you stop talking about your struggles and start focusing on the solutions, you make progress. Personal growth is all about moving forward, even when the path is unclear. By not telling people your problems, you allow yourself to focus on the steps you can take to make things better. You stop being paralyzed by uncertainty and start taking small, consistent actions that lead to transformation. Finally, when you stop sharing your problems with others, you start to build a deeper relationship with yourself. You learn to be your own advocate, your own best friend, and your own greatest source of encouragement. You realize that the most important voice you need to listen to is your own. No one knows you better than you know yourself. And it's in that deep connection with yourself that you find the strength to rise above any challenge. Personal growth is a journey that requires courage, patience, and self-compassion. By not telling others your problems, you allow yourself the space to reflect, to act, and to grow. You stop seeking approval from outside sources and start trusting in your own abilities. As you walk this path, you'll find that the more you embrace silence, the more you discover about your own potential. And in the end, you'll realize that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. In conclusion, silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is a powerful force for growth, clarity, and self-discovery. In a world that constantly demands our attention and validation, choosing silence is a revolutionary act of self-respect and empowerment. When we stop telling others our problems, we stop handing over our energy, our power, and our peace. Instead, we reclaim that power and turn it inward, using the quiet moments to reflect, heal, and grow stronger. Guarding our energy and protecting our peace means not letting external voices dictate our emotional state. It means understanding that not every problem requires sharing, not every challenge needs validation, and not every struggle needs an audience. In those moments of silence, we allow ourselves the space to process, to understand, and to find the strength that has always been within us. True strength lies not in constantly seeking advice or attention from others, but in trusting ourselves to navigate life's challenges with resilience and wisdom. Silence allows us to hear our own voice, to understand our inner wisdom, and to align our actions with our true values and goals. It is in this space of quiet reflection that we uncover our deepest strengths and learn to trust our instincts. So, I challenge you today, the next time life presents you with a challenge, before seeking the approval or comfort of others, take a moment to pause. Embrace the power of silence. Give yourself the gift of reflection. Let your inner wisdom guide you. In doing so, you will find the strength to rise above adversity, to reclaim your peace, and to move forward with clarity and purpose. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the greatest strength is found in the silence.